No one in Russia expected the woman hidden behind Vladimir Putin's public life to ever be exposed. For years, whispers followed him. Rumors of a secret wife, a private family, and a relationship the Kremlin refused to acknowledge. But then, something slipped. A picture, a leak, a quiet detail that shouldn't have existed. And suddenly, the world wasn't looking at Putin anymore. They were looking at her. Who was this mysterious woman living in luxury far from Moscow? Why was she protected by silence? And most importantly, what did Putin do the moment her secret life was exposed? Because when the truth began to spill, the reaction from the Kremlin wasn't calm. It wasn't normal. It was ruthless. This is the hidden life of Putin's alleged mistress, the story Russia never wanted you to hear, and the shocking response from the president himself when the world finally discovered her. To find out more, let's dive into Empire Elegance. Alina Kabayva did not suddenly appear in Putin's story. Her presence grew quietly, moving from the world of sports into the world of politics in a way that felt too smooth to ignore. Russians who followed her Olympic career admired her for her extraordinary talent. But after she retired from gymnastics, the path she followed was unlike any other athlete's. She entered politics at a young age, joined United Russia, and rose into prominent roles with surprising ease. She became the head of a major state media group. She appeared in elite circles almost overnight. And while none of these achievements were openly questioned, people noticed that her rise carried an unusual level of protection, the kind that comes only from power at the very top. Inside Moscow's political circles, the whispers had already started. Her name was being connected to the president in private conversations long before it appeared anywhere publicly. Journalists understood the danger of asking too many questions, and editors quickly learned which subjects were off-limits. Kabayva's name became one of them. Articles mentioning her disappeared. Interviews were cut. A Russian newspaper that dared to print a rumor about her relationship with Putin was abruptly shut down in 2008. It wasn't subtle. It was a warning. From that moment, her presence became more visible, but her life became more hidden. People saw her at events, always controlled, always surrounded by the right people. But little was known about where she lived, who she spent her time with, or what her private world looked like. The silence around her only strengthened the belief that something was being protected. By 2013, the distance between Putin and his wife Ludmila had become too obvious for the public to ignore. They appeared separately at events, rarely smiled together, and maintained a formality that felt practiced. When they finally announced their divorce, the statement was brief and unemotional. They described it as a mutual decision. There was no drama, no public conflict, and no extended explanation. But for many Russians, the divorce only highlighted what had been rumored for years, that Putin's personal life had already changed long before the announcement. Discussions that had been whispered in private circles now moved into the international media. Reporters outside Russia began connecting the divorce to the rumors surrounding Kabayva. Western newspapers picked up the story, and headlines began appearing around the world. Russian officials dismissed the speculation instantly, but their urgency only intensified the scrutiny. Independent Russian journalists began describing the topic as untouchable. The Kremlin seemed determined to shut down any attempt to link Putin's private life to this young, influential woman. As the world focused on the divorce, Kabayva quietly stepped further away from public view. Her appearances became sporadic. She left politics for a period, and then she disappeared almost entirely. That silence didn't make the story fade. It made it grow. The next major wave of attention came from outside Russia. In 2015, Swiss newspaper Sonntagszeitung published a report claiming that Alina Kabayva had given birth in a private clinic in Lugano. The story traveled quickly across Europe. Swiss media followed it. British media amplified it. Soon, the rumor spread worldwide. The Kremlin reacted immediately. Officials called the story nonsense and false. The Swiss clinic denied the reports. Russian state media did not repeat any of it. It was as if the story never existed. But independent journalists later confirmed that editors inside Russia had quietly instructed reporters not to mention Switzerland, not to discuss Kabayva, and not to touch the subject of children at all. The topic became heavily restricted. Though unverified, the rumor had already done damage. The idea that Putin might have a second family, hidden abroad, became a global conversation. And once a story like this enters the international press, it almost never disappears. In the years that followed, investigative journalists continued digging. Their most significant breakthrough came when multiple investigative teams, including Prokt Media, Dossier Center, and Navalny's Anti-Corruption Foundation, uncovered details about a luxury estate near Lake Valdai, north of Moscow. This was not just any estate. It was a sprawling private residence built in a secluded forest area with restricted access. It featured a private church, a spa complex, a swimming pool, a cinema, and several villas spread across a vast landscape. Everything about it suggested it was built for someone extremely important and meant to stay hidden. Investigators published architectural diagrams, drone footage, and photos of the interior. The design revealed wealth far beyond the average state residence. There were gold trimmings, marble floors, ornate furniture, and rooms arranged with extraordinary attention to comfort. What caught people's attention most were the children's rooms, colorful, modern, and clearly designed for young children. They stood out sharply from the rest of the palace's style. Investigators suggested that this estate was connected to Kabayva and possibly used by her and her children. The Kremlin denied all claims, but the visuals remained, and the public drew its own conclusions. Even if the details couldn't be fully verified, the evidence pointed to a life that was far removed from the strict, solitary image Putin had created. Everything changed again in 2022 when Russia invaded Ukraine. Global sanctions targeted oligarchs, government officials, and individuals believed to be connected to Putin's financial network. For the first time, Western governments openly named Alina Kabayva as a person closely associated with the Russian president. The United States, the United Kingdom, and the European Union all sanctioned her, describing her as someone with deep ties to the Kremlin and possible involvement in the president's personal financial operations. The sanctions had immediate consequences. Her public appearances stopped. Her foundation shut down its events. The media organization she oversaw reduced her visibility. Security around her increased heavily, and once again, she disappeared. For almost a year, she was nowhere to be seen. Then, she resurfaced quietly at a children's gymnastics event. The appearance was heavily controlled, and her interaction with the public was limited. The return felt less like a comeback and more like a calculated reminder that she still existed, but would not be answering any questions. Over time, claims about Kabayva having children with Putin have appeared repeatedly in the foreign press. None of these allegations have been confirmed. No official documents have been released. Yet multiple investigative groups, including the Dossier Center, have suggested that Kabayva has at least 2 children and possibly more. Observations around her life have fueled speculation. Her family receiving state-supported benefits, unusual travel patterns, and the reported existence of private schooling arrangements abroad. Some of these details are circumstantial, but together they paint a picture that has been difficult to dismiss. Putin has never directly addressed the rumors. In one interview, when asked if he had other children beyond those he has acknowledged, he gave a brief and vague statement about having a positive relationship with children, without clarifying anything. The vagueness left more questions than answers, and added another layer to the mystery surrounding Kabayva's life. Today, Alina Kabayva continues to live in a world shaped by secrecy and protection. She appears occasionally in public, but always in carefully choreographed settings. Her image is linked to children's sports, cultural events, and charity work, areas that maintain a safe distance from politics. Her personal life remains completely out of view. The properties linked to her name, the security associated with her movements, and the silence surrounding her role all indicate that she is not simply a former athlete or politician. She is someone whose life intersects with power at the highest level, and whose presence is treated as a matter of national sensitivity. Whether or not she truly holds the place the world believes she does, one fact is clear: the effort to protect her image, her privacy, and her connection to Putin has been unmatched. And that is what makes her story so extraordinary, not just the rumors themselves, but the enormous machinery built to shield her from the public. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe to Empire Elegance and hit the notification bell for more powerful stories about the lives and legacies of the world's most influential figures. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in our next video.